98 FM's Dublin Talks. Call 6797 981.
Well, good morning. How are you this morning? I hope everything is good with you because, well, did you have your shower today? Because it's something I have to do every day. Can't go a day without a shower. If you're going to spend more than 15 minutes in the shower, you may as well just have a bath, apparently. Also, there's nothing to be gained by spending that long under running water. Those are the words of advice from a new study I was reading earlier on the amount of time we spend in the shower. So, we want to kick off the show with this because it's something every single one of us can relate to. Having a shower, most of you will have done it this morning, but how long did you spend in there? Text us right now on 0877 98 98 98 and let me know how long you spend in the shower. Because according to the study out today, the average shower now lasts 8 minutes. It used to be 15 minutes, but people are spending less than the time in the shower because we're kind of conditioned not to be wasting too much water. Now, according to one dermatologist, Dr. Adrian Kaminska, the recommended maximum shower time is about 5 to 10 minutes. This is enough time to cleanse and hydrate the skin without overdoing it. Our skin needs water just like our bodies, but if we over or underdo it, then it may have consequences, she adds. So basically, the longer you spend in the shower, the worse it is for your skin. So I want you to send me a WhatsApp voice note and let me know how long you spend in the shower. And if you're one of those people who spends over 15 minutes, what in God's name are you doing in there? I discovered, just by fluke actually, recently on my staycation that I definitely don't shower for any more than 6 minutes. And the reason I know this is, as you know, as you may know, we did our staycation in a camper van and travelled around the country and went to different campsites. And in different campsites, they have showering facilities. And in some of them, you pay €1 and you get a 6-minute shower. Okay, so in two different places, I'd put in €1 and I got a 6-minute shower from €1. And I discovered that the last minute and a half I was just standing there waiting for it to switch off. So my average shower is about 4.5 minutes. Because I'm done after that. And literally, the remaining minute and a half in the shower, I was just standing there waiting for it to end. Because I'd paid the money and it switches off automatically after the 6 minutes. So I know that my average shower now is about 4.5 minutes. How long do you spend in the shower? Send me a WhatsApp voice note right now to 0877 98 98 98. 0877 98 98 98. And if you're spending more than the average 8 minutes, I want to know what you're doing because I was bored. After 4.5 minutes, I'd done everything I needed to do and I stood there just for a minute and a half waiting for the water to go off. So I now know that my average shower is under 5 minutes. How long do you spend in the shower? And like I said, the experts are saying that if you spend too long in the shower, you're actually potentially damaging your skin. So send me a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98. 0877 98 98 98 and let us know how long you are spending in the shower. Let's have a listen to this WhatsApp voice note from Dahi.
Lads, I'd spend about 10 to 15 minutes in the shower, probably every day. But I work for an engineering firm and I'm usually coming home covered in grease and dirt and stuff, and especially in the winter time, it's nice to just have a nice soak. You don't want to get out of it because it's cold outside.
It is. And I do like my shower I love my shower in the morning, but 4.5, 5 minutes is enough for me. I would get bored. I would find I'd have nothing to do after the 4.5 minutes. Let's have a listen to this WhatsApp voice note sent to 0877 98 98 98. This is from Dylan.
I spend about the guts of half an hour in the shower. Half of the time I just sit there and have the water hit on my head.
Dylan, seriously, like, what are you doing? And I do get bored. I can't just stand there doing nothing. I've washed my hair, I've used the shower gel, I've washed my body, and that takes me 4.5 minutes. And after that, I'm out. I'm gone. Now, I used to have longer showers, but I just don't see the point anymore. Send me a WhatsApp voice note right now to 0877 98 98 98. 0877 98 98 98. And let me know how long you spend in the shower. And if it's more than the average 8 minutes, that is now the average that people spend in the shower, what are you doing? What are you doing for the rest of that time? I find myself I don't know what to be doing after 4.5 minutes. I just got this message. I was probably a bit longer today, but I don't have the water on full blast like my other half, who has it blasting and uses dollops of shower gel and gallons of shampoo, even though his head is shaved. Why would you need shampoo on a bald head? I don't understand that. Keep them coming in. 0877 98 98 98. How long do you spend in the shower? That's who's this from, Jeremy? No Name. Oh, sorry. This is from No Name.
Morning. I spend about half an hour in the shower every morning. It is my me time, and I literally look forward to it from the moment I wake up, because it just sets me up for the day. You just don't understand it because you're a man, and men don't understand. But like, that half an hour in the shower is just everything, especially when you're washing your hair and everything else. So yeah, half an hour is standard every day in the shower. Yeah, me time, my time. Yeah, perfect.
Half an hour? I'd sooner the half an hour in bed than in the shower, to be honest with you. If I had a choice between an extra 10 or 15 minutes in bed or an extra 10 or 15 minutes in the shower, I would definitely go for the bed, to be honest. Keep them coming in. 0877 98 98 98. This is from Renata.
Morning. Just literally getting out of the shower. My shower takes about 10 minutes, but between like the head wash and the scrub, I'd always switch the water off. Just switch it on when I need to rinse it.
In fact, Renata is on the line here. So you're just out of the shower, Renata?
I am, yeah. Just literally out.
Good. I hope you're fully clothed.
Dressing gown, if that's decent enough for you.
That's all you need to be on the radio. A dressing gown is sufficient.
That's it.
Now, how long do you spend on average?
I'd say between 5 and 10 minutes. Depends on the day. Like, I wouldn't wash my hair every day, or I wouldn't do certain things in a certain days. But when I don't use the shower, like when I'm scrubbing with the sponge or when I'm washing my hair, I'd always switch the shower water off.
Oh, so you're standing there with no shower water?
Yeah. But no, that makes a lot of sense. It saves water, it saves, heating, it saves bills and everything. Like, I don't know why I do it. It's just the way I do it.
Right.
And everyone in my household do it. The kids been told to do it. It's not because like we mean and we don't have money. It's just, I think it's because of water and saving things.
I think, well, I was mentioning earlier on that the average shower today, apparently, is 8 minutes. It used to be 15 minutes, so people are a little bit more conscious about conserving water.
I can tell you one thing, Jeremy. When we used to have an electric shower, one of those when you switch it on and it starts running?
One of those, yeah.
I always had it on. Even if I shower for 15 minutes, it'd always be running, because the water in those, like as soon as you switch it off and switch it back on, even though it's for a second, the water starts from cold, then it's warm, then it's hot, and then it's warm again.
Yeah.
So I'd always have that shower running. But since we got a pump and a new nice bathroom done in the shower, then it's just good enough to switch it off and switch it back on when you're scrubbing. So
okay, so you on average about 10 minutes. Stay there for a second, Renata, and have a listen to this message. See what you make of this. Here we go.
I spend about half an hour to 45 minutes in the shower. Let myself soak, a couple of washes, wash it all or rinse it all off, and just stand there for a little while, letting the water run all over me.
30 minutes to 45 minutes. Now,
that's a bath. Like, I don't really spend that much time in a bath.
I wouldn't myself. Should the water be cold after 45 minutes in a bath? Actually, do you still have a bath?
I do, yes. We took the shower out and we put in a bath and the top on the shower, because I do need a bath. I love my
believe
bath.
it or not, in our house we did the exact opposite. We took we don't have a bath anymore.
I know a lot of people do that, yes, but I just love my bath. I need a good soaking once a week. I really, really do, because it's just, I don't know what's about it, but shower doesn't cleanse me enough.
Okay, so the thoughts of spending 45 minutes in the shower wouldn't appeal to you at all?
No way.
No, me neither. I would be bored stupid, I would.
Oh, yeah.
All right, good to talk to you, Renata. Thank you. 6797 981 is our telephone number. You can also send us a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98, and we're talking about the amount of time that you spend in the shower. And Jay sent me this message.
In our house, what we do is usually spend about 7 to 10 minutes. It's usually what we do is we time it by songs, so you get 2 songs in the shower. After that, then you have to get out.
That's not a bad idea, actually. Well, I'd be able to do it in one long-ish song, a 4.5 minute song. That's enough for me. And Stephen is very eco-friendly where it comes to the shower.
Morning, everybody. I would only shower, I'd say, once a week for about 5 minutes, so it's very cost efficient, and I wouldn't build up the dirt too much, so just thought I would put that out there to everybody. Stephen from Tip there, just trying to save the world. One shower at a time.
Good man, Stephen, trying to save the world one shower at a time. Once a week? Ew. Did you say you were down in Tipperary? Probably just as well. You're not travelling on the Lewis here in Dublin every day. Imagine standing beside Stephen on the Lewis. Once a week, Stephen. Now, we used to have baths once a week when we were kids, and that was enough when we were kids, but we were only children. Once a week for a shower. No, fair enough. He is being very eco-friendly and saving the planet one shower at a time, as he said. But once a week for a shower. I don't know about you. On the odd day that for whatever reason I might go without a shower, I never feel the same. I never feel the same that whole day. Yesterday, for example, I got up late. I had a bit of a lie-in yesterday. And then I got up and started doing work around the house and whatever. And I never actually got around to having a shower yesterday. And I just didn't feel... My day wasn't started properly. Anyway, once a week. Kira sent me this WhatsApp voice note.
My time in the shower depends on how much I need to shave.
Did you hear that? Do you want to hear it again?
My time in the shower depends on how much I need to shave.
Her time in the shower depends on how much she needs to shave. There's the unwritten thing that we don't talk about enough. Particularly women, although men do it a bit, but particularly women shaving in the shower. Yes. I have to have a listen to this one more time. Hang on.
My time in the shower depends on how much I need to shave.
Thank you, Kira, for sharing that with me and putting that thought into my head. A couple more. This is John, who misses having a bath.
All right, lads. Do you know what? You can't beat a bath on a Sunday at the Glenroe. I'm a 90s kid. Can't beat that. That was great. Bath at the Glenroe, and they were in together next morning. It was a killer, but that was the thing for us. Anyway, good luck.
Thank you, John. I don't know, it was a strange household. We had our baths on a Saturday evening, not on a Sunday. But I get the Sunday thing. Back in the day, by the way, for children who may be listening, maybe off school or whatever, back in the day, we people used to have a bath once a week. That was it. One bath a week. We didn't have showers. Well, we kind of had an awful shower. But a bath once a week, and that was enough. That was sufficient. But Adrian, you don't have to shave your long legs and under your arms and your bikini line, says this message. And I wash my hair twice, then I leave a hair mask on for about 15 minutes, then rinse that off thoroughly, then smother myself in cocoa baby oil all over. Oh, do you do that all in the shower? Finally, this message from Claire. Oh, sorry. Hang on, Claire. We'll get you on now if I can get this working properly. Hang on. If I press the right button, it'll work.
Hi, Adrian. The men are worse in the shower. They forget to come out. Well, it's like that in their house anyway. Thanks, Claire.
Well, you've heard some of the men that we have had on who literally can't get out of the shower. They just stand there. And I do get the whole standing there thing, but not for more than 6 minutes. Honestly, I can't get my head around it. In and out. I get into the shower in the morning at 6:10, and I'm out of the shower and dressed and down the stairs at 6:20. Every day. Like clockwork. So there. Anyway, thank you. I was just interested to find out how long you spend in the shower. You're listening to 98 FM's Dublin Talks. This is Adrian Kennedy. We're with you until midday today. Apparently, there is an app you can get that sets off a mad alarm when it's time to get out of it. Well, that's not a bad idea. And in fact, when we were on our staycation last week in one of the campsites, after 5 minutes of your 6-minute shower, there was this loud alarm thing to tell you you've only a minute left. And sure, I was finished at that stage. Apparently, the app is called the Smart Shower Timer. And you can set... Oh, let me have a look for that. You can set the Smart Shower Timer where you can set it so that you don't spend half the day in there, because it's ridiculous. Okay, sorry, one last one. Here we go.
Hi, Adrian. It's Jay here. So you don't have to shave your long legs. You don't have to shave under your arms. You don't have to shave your bikini line and put your legs in very strange positions, so you can do that. Then I wash my hair twice. Then I leave a hair mask on for about 15 minutes. Then I'll thoroughly rinse that off and then smother my body in coconut body oil all over. So that's how long it probably takes me to do it. And it's lovely. And then the water gets really, really cold and I have to jump out because I'm freezing.
All right, thank you very much indeed. That'll stay with me for the rest of today. You're with 98 FM's Dublin Talks. I'm Adrian Kennedy. Now, on the way after the break, as we know, the kids are back in school 2 weeks now, and as the parents of a school child, I want to find out, what have the changes been like? What rules and regulations has your child's school put in place that you're finding a little bit bizarre? For example, I heard of one child the other day not at all happy at having to wear a face mask during PE. Darren contacted us. He mailed us over the weekend. Is your child's school like this? Do you agree with all the measures that they have in place? Do they all make sense? Well, have a listen to this from Darren. Just an email to highlight some of the conditions we find our kids having to deal with on their return to school. First of all, I did speak to you a while ago saying we were confident and sure about sending our 2 kids back to school, and that still stands. Kids are more than happy to be back. However, this is from things we're feeling so far. No lunch boxes allowed. No school bag allowed. Designated toilet breaks. Pupils told not to guzzle their water as they can't use the toilet outside of their time. Lunch must be given in a Ziploc bag, which has to be disposed of by the school every day. This limits what we can give them for lunch. And also the huge waste accumulated every day, Ziploc bags, foil, cling film, plastic bottles, all thrown out by the school. A school which has prided itself on their zero waste and recycling programmes and has received numerous green flag awards. So, I would like to hear from you on 6797 981. Has your child's school got similar rules? Is it going too far? Have you found some of the rules just ridiculous, or are you very happy with the rules that are in place? Call me right now on 6797 981 or text, WhatsApp, or send a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98.
The sound of the city, from Blackrock to Ballyfermot. This is 98 FM's Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy.
Our telephone number is 6797 981. You can text, WhatsApp, or send a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98. I want to find out how you, and more importantly, your children, are coping with the new rules, the new way of doing things in schools. Because, as we know, we're 2 weeks in now. The schools have successfully reopened, but it's a very different world for students. Secondary school students, for example, wearing face masks and all that. I know of one student who nearly fainted after wearing a face mask during PE. I found it really difficult. And in fact, Sharon sent me a not dissimilar message about contact from her daughter this morning.
Hey guys, yeah, I only had this with my daughter this morning. She's sending me a message from school thinking she's going to pass out. Every time she pulls it down to breathe, she has to pull it back up. She's getting given out to. I do understand they're trying to keep them safe, but they're not even allowed a break in between classes, even though there's that set social distance. So I just don't understand it.
Okay, there you go. I find it very difficult to wear a face mask for any prolonged period of time. The longest I'd say I've had one on at any time was maybe 25 minutes going around the supermarket. And as soon as I get out, I can't wait to take it off. I can't imagine what it's like to either work in a job or be in school where you're wearing one for hours on end. So that is one of the complaints, particularly for secondary school pupils. Call me now on 6797 981. I want to hear what sort of rules are in place that your children are struggling to cope with. Now, Darren, I read out your email a couple of minutes ago. You contacted us. You were on to us a couple of weeks ago saying how you were looking forward to the children going back to school.
Morning, Adrian.
Good morning, Darren. How are you?
All delighted for the kids, especially delighted to be going back to school, you know. They've never seen them so excited to go back, to be honest. Just after a bit of a settling in period for, first couple of days are a bit chaotic and that, but they've kind of settled into their routines now. But just some of the rules they're coming home with and telling us about, and that we've investigated and we found out about. The likes of the lunches and stuff like that, no lunch boxes, no school bags. It's just...
So are they in primary or secondary?
Primary school, yeah.
In primary school, okay. They're both in primary school. So in the school, they're not allowed to bring a lunchbox.
No lunchbox. Everything has to be in the Ziploc bags or packaging like that, you know.
Okay.
In cylinder, tinfoil and stuff, and it has to be disposed of by the school. That after school, they're not allowed to bring anything home if they don't finish it and stuff like that. But they're still handling the lunch bag. You know what I mean? So I don't see any difference between that and the lunchbox. Lunchbox can be sanitised. It's restricting what we can send the kids in food-wise, because some stuff, you know yourself, it can't be wrapped up or packaged. It needs to be a lunchbox or whatever, you know, stuff like that. The school bag issue as well.
Yeah, now what's that about? I assume they brought their books into school and they've left them there, have they?
Yeah. Anything is left in school. There's been no homework for the September is what they've told us. But they're not allowed to bring any school bags in. They said at risk of contamination and stuff like that because you're bringing it from the home. Now,
okay, so when they're walking into school, all they have is a Ziploc bag with their lunch.
With their lunch in it, yeah. So I mean, they're saying it's risk of contamination or risk of spread of COVID and stuff like that. You know, they're wearing the same coats in every day. I can't see the difference between wearing the same coat. There's more chance of anything being on the coat, on the sleeves, on the collar, stuff like that, than the school bag. And it's just an inconvenience for the kids as well. But it's going a bit further than that now as well. They're being told to restrict their water intake or their drinks during the day because they have designated toilet times.
Okay, so there's no longer on Will Cadogan, Dulgady and Lehers Marche the whole
Not really, no. It's at a time, right? Everybody, we're all going at this time. And our little girl was instructed that not to be drinking all the water. And she's a very active child, you know, so we'd always encourage her to keep hydrated and stuff like that. It's very important. Good for their concentration skills, stuff like that, you know. But they were told, no, you can't drink that much water because you can't be brought to the toilet when you need to go. You have to go at this time.
So at what time then are they allowed to go to the toilet?
Whenever the teacher or whoever it is decides, or whatever time they've been designated by the principal or whoever is designating the times, you know.
Because water obviously makes you pee, they're being told not to be drinking too much water.
Yeah, and the weather, particularly the likes of today, it's very humid and warm last week, but the likes of today, I mean, the kids are going to be thirsty, stuff like that. It's just extra restrictions all the time. We've gone to the principal and the school authorities, and they said this is a board of management decision that they've decided to go. Now, this isn't from the Department of Education or anything like that. The board of management of this particular school has decided this.
So say one of your children is in class and it happens to all of us, needs to pee. Are they not allowed to go?
Well, they are, but they're encouraged to wait to go at a certain time. I haven't heard of a child being told no, they can't go at the moment. But I mean, it is a source for today. We checked with our parents and stuff like that, and they've been told the same. And the kids, our little fella, he's only little, and he just said he was afraid to go. He didn't want to tell the teacher to go because he'd get in trouble.
Right.
You know, so I mean that's not good.
That's awful.
Now there's been a few other instances as well, and let me see, there's so many at the moment. It's just extra restriction on the kid. I think it's taken away from their experience in the school, particularly the smaller kids. When it comes to the hand sanitization and stuff like that, they encourage sanitize stations everywhere, which is great, and that's fine. And the school put in a lot of protocols. They seem to have gone on a solo run with some of this stuff though as well, where they're not.
Well, you did mention that the school in question here has won awards for its environmental policies.
Yeah,
but they're literally gone in the bin now, if you'll excuse the pun.
Yeah. That seems to be the way. I mean, the school is on a campus of there's a few schools together, and they have common areas. And this particular school is the only one that's doing this. The other two schools, which are share the school grounds and some amenities and corridors and stuff like that, them schools aren't doing this. They have their school bags, they have their lunch boxes, they don't have as much restrictions on it.
Because I know in other schools, for example, children are allowed to bring a lunchbox, but you're asked to sanitise it as soon as they get home.
Yeah, of course, which is what we would have done anyway. You would have been washed and cleaned. I mean, that's for fresh.
And for the life of me, I don't actually understand the issue with the lunchbox anyhow, because, generally speaking, if a child arrives with a lunchbox, they're not going to be passing it around the whole class. They're going to be, it's their lunchbox. No, exactly, do you know what I mean? Kids don't pass around lunchboxes.
They were told not to share lunches or not to be swapping lunches, which is fair enough. That's fine. I mean, that's kids were told that. I mean, our kids are well used to the hand washing etiquette and keeping a distance and stuff like that. I mean, it's easy for them to do it now. It's been in place for so long, and we don't have to tell them to wash their hands and do this and keep their distance and don't share their lunches, because they know that themselves now. It's just a real authoritarian approach and drilling it into them, and you can't do this, you know. So, I mean, we've approached the school about it, and they said, no, this is in place now for the duration of the pandemic, and it's not changing. Like, they're not even...
We won't even talk about it.
No, we won't talk about it. It's just like, that's the way it is, and that's it. Like, it's very...
So no lunch boxes, no school bag, designated toilet breaks, kids being actively encouraged not to drink too much water because they'll need to pee more, and then the school gets rid of all of the Ziploc bags, the foil, the cling film, the plastic bottles, all thrown out by the school.
It's just from our house alone, it's 10 Ziploc bags a week, whatever tin foil stuff we wrapped in, up to 10 water bottles a week, all going into waste, all getting thrown out, and
that seems ridiculous. It does seem ridiculous, yeah.
If all the schools were instructed to do this, you kind of say, okay, fair enough, it's been a directive, somebody has decided this and everyone has to abide by it. But the fact that this school is going on a solo run, and we've asked other parents that we're friends with and stuff like that have schools all around the area, this seems to be the only school. There might be one or two more in other areas.
Well, I'd love to find out what sort of rules are in place in other schools that don't make sense. And as you said, these are school-mandated rules, not from the HSE or the Department of Education.
No. We did receive a letter at the start of the year from the department. It was like an open letter to all parents and schools and whatever, and it didn't outline any of this whatsoever. It did outline some restrictions, like the hand sanitization, and they're trying their best to keep them in their pods and their bubbles and stuff like that, you know. But this seems to be just it's like they're afraid of everything. The fear of COVID-19 is taking over.
As a matter of interest, in your child's school, what would happen if they forgot to bring a water bottle? Would they be able to get water in the school?
They will say it'd be provided, but just that one bottle would be given to them.
Because wait till you hear this message. I know my friend's 8-year-old forgot her water bottle, and they wouldn't let her use any of their cups, and had no disposable ones, and she had to go all day without water. Absolutely shocking.
That's great.
That is ridiculous. An 8-year-old.
Yeah, that's terrible now. And we've a 10-year-old, and she's coming home telling us these things, you know, and she's well used to the school routine over the years of having had lunch and stuff like this, but she's like, I'm not allowed to have a drink, I'm not allowed to go to the toilet, I'm not allowed. It just seems to be not allowed. I can understand they have to abide by the rules, but the rules are just going too far away.
Some of the rules just don't seem to make sense. They really don't. And I mean, this whole thing of designated toilet breaks and no lunch boxes and all of that. All right, Darren, you've started off an interesting conversation.
I know you get a few naysayers on now saying, you need to treat this more serious. We do treat it seriously, and we have done. I mean, we're abiding by the rules, and we did all that for the last 6 months now. But this is just, it's gone too far now, and it's easy prey. It's shocking the kids to do. It's easy prey. in my opinion.
All right, Darren, I appreciate you reaching out to us. And as I said, you've raised an interesting conversation. We're getting a lot of messages in. For example, this one from Tricia. I have 3 in secondary school. The mask situation is extremely tough, but also there's no practical work allowed, like cooking, woodwork and experiments, which is a big part of the curriculum. Also, the max allowed in a classroom is 24, so if there's more students, the overflow are sent to another room and therefore miss out on that hour's class. It's a nightmare, says Tricia. I'd like to hear from you on 6797 981. You can text, you can WhatsApp, or you can send a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98. What rules are in place in your child's school that don't make sense to you? Or maybe, what rules are not in place that should be? We'll take a quick break. Back in a second.
The sound of the city, from Balbriggan to Blanchardstown. This is 98 FM's Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy.
Our telephone number is 6797 981. You can text, you can WhatsApp, or you can send a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98. Joanne sent me this WhatsApp voice note.
Hi Adrian, I have one child in secondary school and I have one child in primary school. The child in primary school, I don't have any issues with. The school is fantastic, but the child in secondary school, he's in second year, and they were told that if they take the mask so much as down off their nose, they'll get sent home. If they forget the mask, they'll get sent home. They have to eat their lunch outside, and they're not allowed into the canteen. Then he asked, could he go to the toilet one of the days during his class? And the teacher told him no, he had to wait until his break. It's just ridiculous. The rules is just crazy. The poor kids are like slaves in school.
Oh.
It's not on.
Right. The poor kids are like slaves in school. Ursula, you actually are telling a completely different story about how things are actually going really, really well and we need to be supporting the schools.
Yeah, I've 3 sons in primary school. Well, maybe primary school is different story to secondary school from what I'm hearing.
Well, it is regarding face masks and stuff like that, yeah.
It is, so that would be a huge difference, but I can't say a single bad word because that would be lying. The school is fantastic. Before starting on the 31st of August, the previous Friday, we had a Zoom meeting with the teacher. The children were told their bubble group. They were told the way to school. Absolutely everything was explained, and then it's just everything is going well. There's no problem. They know they're in the bubble. They know they can only be during the class with people with children in their bubble. They can't share things. Then on.
And as a matter of interest, sorry, they're in a bubble of 6, is that right?
I think one is 6 and one is 4, and the third one is preschool, so it's different, the preschool one.
Okay, so in a bubble of 6, then they have to just spend their time with those children. Is it a case? Are there examples of how one of your children might be in a certain bubble, but one of his friends is in another bubble and he can't talk to him?
No, during the class, they can be only within a bubble, but then during the break, the whole class can play together. They can mix with other classes, but during the break time, the whole class plays together. So,
right.
Yeah, so it's only during the learning time that they can't go to the friends in different bubbles, but during the break time, they can mix within the class.
But that's all outdoors then, is it?
It is, yeah.
Okay, but generally speaking, the children are coping well, and you think the school are dealing with it very well?
Yes, I'm in full support for the school. The teachers, the staff, it's incredible. They put a huge amount of work to organize it all, and I can only say good words about the whole experience.
Okay, very good. That's nice to hear, because by complete contrast, Brian, your point is that the school keeps changing the rules.
It's not so much changing the rules. As we all know, teachers, principals, I'm sure they're all under pressure. I mean, there's a lot of kids to look after in the school, such a small number of teachers. The only issue I had is when they seem to be doing out a roster, like Friday the 11th, we got a text at 5:30 for the roster for the following week. So any parents that's in work doesn't give them a lot of time to sort that out, because the kids were off on the Monday and they were in 8:30 to 11:30. And then Saturday we got the roster for this week.
And what's in the roster for this week?
This week it's 25 past 8 to 11:15, then they're home for lunch, back at 12:40, and then off at 3:25.
They're home for lunch?
They're home for lunch, yeah.
Oh, right. And how long is the lunch break? An hour and a half?
It seems to be an hour and a half. It seems to be a lot longer than normal. See, it's staggered because it's understandable. You don't want 4 second, 4 years all going back together. So there's 5 minutes in between every class that finishes.
Okay, so they're not mixing around the school and all of that. But an hour...
Like, you have to find our best, but it just seems to be... It's the notification. I don't understand who's looking after the notification. I mean, how can you give someone a message of a Saturday evening to say, look, this is the times for next week for the kids?
So is it not a regimented thing? Is it not the same times every week? Obviously not.
No. Because on Friday the 11th, when we got the message out that evening, it was the kids were off on the Monday. So anyone that had to go to work, one of the parents obviously had to stay at home. And then that week they were only in 8:30 to 11:30 for the whole week.
So on a Saturday evening, you found out that the kids were off on Monday.
On the Monday.
On the Monday. And then 8:30 to 11:30 Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday and Friday.
That's right.
And so, as you said, Saturday evening you had to make new plans.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't be the only one. I mean, there's a lot of people. But look, as I said to you already, the teachers, they're all under a lot of pressure. But I just think whoever's doing the roster, I'm sure you can do it for a month and then subject to change.
Yes, and notify parents in advance, so at least you'll know. And I'm wondering, is this a thing in other schools? So this.
Look, I don't know. No, I don't know what the story is for next week. I couldn't tell you what time the kids are in school next week.
And what were they in last week?
That's what I'm saying to you. Last week was 8:30 to 11:30.
Sorry.
This week,
yeah.
This week is 25 past 8 to 2:40.
Oh, right. So much longer days this week than last week.
Longer, but they're on a half day on Thursday.
Oh, right. God, that sounds very complicated to keep up with.
It is. I mean, it wouldn't be complicated if you got a bit more notice.
Yes, okay, so a month in advance to be told that this week they have a shorter day, the following week they have a full day, and being able to work around that would be grand, but to be finding out on a Saturday evening that on Monday they're not even in school it does seem a little bit ridiculous, particularly...
They were off on the Monday, yeah, they were all off on the Monday. It's only the 6 years that was it.
Wow, right, okay. Okay, stay there for 1 second. Have you had issues like that? Call me right now on 6797 981. You can text, you can WhatsApp, or you can send a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98. One school sent a message to parents from Monday the 14th of September. We are asking all adults in the schoolyard to wear a face mask. Thank you for your continued help in keeping our school a safe place for all. So parents now in this particular school have to wear face masks, dropping the kids off at the yard. Let's have a listen to this WhatsApp voice note. This is quite shocking, actually. This is from Michael.
Hi Adrian, my missus took my young fella into school this morning, right? He's only 5 and he's kind of, at 5 years of age he's only gone into babies class, right? And he's kind of like, he's trying to poo, and the way, it's sometimes with kids like that, you know what I mean? It kind of takes him a little bit of time, and children of 5. So she goes up to the door, and just the classroom, and all the teachers are standing outside and all that, just taking in the kids and so on. And she says, listen here, the small fella needs to use the toilet ASAP, as quickly as possible, so they just stood there looking at her like headless chickens, and next thing they were waiting to call somebody else, and then they were going to call. She said, look, can I just go in with him for a minute just so he can use the toilet? He really needs to use the toilet. And like 5-year-olds, if they gotta go, right? Well, there were about 10 minutes, and then they said they'd find somebody, and then eventually somebody came out. They didn't let my missus go in, and then they eventually took the child in. are they not prepared for things like that? Like, because I find it absolutely completely ridiculous. You know, some of these rules are a little bit over the top.
All right, Michael, thank you very much indeed. I got this message just a moment ago, and it says, my children aged 7 and 8 were told to fill up their water bottles in the toilet because teachers can't touch their drink bottles. They should have access to water for hands, water for cleaning, but no water for drinking. Let me go to Dave. Dave, you think some people are being a little bit unfair on the schools?
I do. Like, I hear a lot of people, and you see it on social media as well. Like, they're making out that, like, you know, like, principals, almost like these old-timey cartoon bad guys twirling their mustaches. Like, they don't want this hassle. They don't want to be putting in all these rules. They don't want to be making, like, your principals and your teachers there are to educate your children. And I was talking to a teacher at my youngster's school, and he was telling me that they only got notice from the Department of Education on what they had to do to the schools to bring them up to snuff at basically the 11th hour. You know, like, they put in a lot of work and a lot of effort to make sure the kids had a safe environment to go back to. And to be fair, you've had enough crazy parents on your show down through the years. You know well that if something happens to someone's kid in school and they perceive it to be the school's fault, the pitchforks are going to be out.
Absolutely, yes, I agree. And you can see
what
that.
I mean?
You
So,
can
like,
see that already.
Yeah, so I can understand why some schools are being a little OTT, because they're just trying to cover their arses. Because you have parents on one hand saying, oh, it's great they're back in school and fair play to the schools, but just wait till something happens to their little darling and watch their opinion change. Do you know what I mean? Like, one of the reasons we don't have that many fun houses in this country anymore is because of people suing and claiming off lads' insurance for bruises and stuff. So you can imagine what some of these same people will be like if their child contracts coronavirus in the school.
I agree with you totally, and I do see a situation in the future of parents threatening legal action if little Johnny or little Mary contracts COVID-19 in the school. So your point is we just need to bear with the schools. They're doing the best they can in very difficult circumstances.
They're doing their best in a shit situation. Look, this year's been a shit show for everybody. And to be fair, like, I know with some of the secondary schools, it seems a bit draconian, but like, from most of the people I know with kids in primary school, the primary schools are absolutely crushing it. They're doing a fantastic job. But like, the educators have as much experience in this as the rest of us.
As the rest of us, absolutely.
If you're that unhappy with the school, take your child out of school then. You know, don't be taking to social media and bitching about it.
All right, Dave. And finally, Lauren, what's the worst thing in your child's school?
Well, I have 3 different schools, so 2 secondary schools and one primary school. My son's school is brilliant. I have no fault with that. We got a letter back last week from the primary school asking, parents to bear with them because parents had started on some of the teachers in front of the kids and started screaming and shouting at teachers and railroading them, and they're just trying to do their best. Like, the schools
and that's more or less the point that Dave was making a second ago. Do me a favour, Lauren, stay on the line there for 1 second. I'll come back to you after the break. Don't go away.
98.
It's 11 o'clock across Dublin. Good morning. This is Adrian Kennedy. This is 98 FM's Dublin Talks. And this is Emma with Monday's top headlines.
Thanks, Adrian. Good morning. A laneway remains sealed off in Kilmainham after the body of a homeless man was discovered overnight. Gardaí are questioning a teenage boy in relation to the investigation. A trial date's been set for January 2022 for former Defence Forces member Lisa Smith. The 38-year-old from Dundalk is accused of membership of ISIS and financing terrorism. A man in his late teens is due before the criminal courts of justice this morning in connection with an armed robbery in Dublin. A shop on Dorset Street Lower was targeted at around 9 o'clock last night when a broken glass bottle was used to threaten staff. And the website where Leaving Cert students can see what marks they were given is back up and running after crashing this morning. Students were delayed by up to an hour due to the volume of traffic trying to access the site. And now you're up to date on 98.
98 FM's 10K Payday.
Every day last week we gave away €1,000 every single day as part of 98 FM's 10K Payday. We had winners in Skerries, in Churchtown, in Ballymun, in Swords, in Talla, all over the city. And this week we're doing it again. €1,000 every single day as part of 98 FM's 10K payday. Now, earlier on this morning at 10 to 8, Rebecca and Brendan on 98 FM's Big Breakfast played a song, the 1K song of the day. I heard it, but did you? If you did, when you hear it being played again, which it will at some stage between now and 7 o'clock this evening, all you have to do is text payday, followed by your details to 0877 98 98 98. 0877 98 98 98. And you could win your share of 98 FM's 10K payday. So stay listening to this radio station for the rest of the day. And as soon as you hear the song that they played at 10 to 8 this morning, played again, bang. Get your phone in your hand immediately. Text payday and your details to 0877 98 98 98. Before 7 o'clock this evening, somebody listening to 98 FM will be a grand richer.
98 FM's 10K payday. 98 FM's Dublin Talks. Call 6797 981.
Now, we'll just take another couple of calls on what we've been talking about, and that is the schools and the rules and whether or not they're working for your children. Lauren, I'll come back to you in 1 second because, Ian, you wanted to say some positives.
Yeah, how are you doing, Adrian?
Good, thanks, Ian.
I know some of the schools are getting a bad rap, but I just think it's down to how they're run individually by the principals themselves and stuff. Like my own lad's school, he's in 4th class, and it was explained very well. You know, when from day one, like it was staggered dropping off times. You know, it kind of gave 10 minutes space between each classes. You know, so 1st class, 2nd class, 10 to 9 sort of thing. You know, and 9 o'clock for 3rd and 4th and all. It was just doing a great job, I think, from day one. You know, so. It's not all skills.
No, and it, like I said, and I agree with all of the callers that we need to give the schools a little bit of space. They're, you know, they're trying to operate in very, very difficult circumstances in a way, as was said earlier on, that none of us are used to, least of all teachers and principals and all of that, because, it's something, if you'd asked them a year ago, they wouldn't have known what to do.
Yeah, my young lad was a nervous wreck going back in, but after the first day, it was just managed perfect and really good. And I asked him when he came home how he was and how he got on, and he's fine, not a bother. And then so he's delighted to be back in school now.
That's great.
I think it's down to how it's managed really by the individual principals and management sort of thing, you know.
All right, Ian, thanks very much indeed. And sorry, Lauren, to come back to you.
You're okay.
What's the number one issue you've had?
In my daughter's school, which is a primary school, there's 30 plus kids in the class, so they can't really space them out very well. But at the same time, I am lucky enough to be, I'm on the core group in my son's school, and I have been lucky enough to speak with the principal and the teachers and all before they opened up. The teachers aren't happy with the way things are. I mean, they feel like they've regressed about 20 years in their teaching. They can't do group learning. They can't put kids with other kids that are like-minded. You know, they're not happy, but these are the rules that they have to follow. They're putting all the kids' safety first. So they're not happy. So this is what has to be done in order to keep everybody safe.
And much and all, as a lot of us may not like them and they don't feel normal and all of that, they aren't normal. We keep our fingers crossed that this won't be a permanent thing, that by next September things might be a little bit more normal for kids in school. We have to just hope and pray.
Absolutely. I mean, my daughter, they're not in secondary school. They're not allowed. They have to stay within their actual classes. So my daughter's given out because she can't hang around at lunchtime with her best friend. She has to stick with people in her classroom. She's not allowed to mix that way. But it's their way of keeping everybody safe. And so they know who's around who, and they can
absolutely,
if anything happens, they can trace it back.
All right, Lauren, thanks very much indeed. And let's finish up with this WhatsApp voice note from Estelle.
Hi, Adrian. My perspective on this is that the schools are doing whatever they can to make sure that things are adhered to in these unprecedented times. What I can't cope with is the fact that when kids either leave the school ground or come out at playtime or whatever, or break time, the masks come off. There's no social distancing. They're all hanging around in groups.
Okay, sorry, I actually have Estelle on the line there now. Estelle, sorry, explain that issue to me there, that this is about face masks.
Yeah, I think Adrian, I think a lot of people are pointing fingers at the school and saying that the schools are not doing what they can, and the schools are taking a lot of heat and slack, where in retrospect, I think the discipline and the responsibility needs to come from the kids' side, and they need to understand that this virus is just everywhere, and they don't keep their masks on and they don't do social distancing, then the schools are going to get it in the neck and they're going to be blamed for everything. And in retrospect, the schools are trying their best with what they know in these unprecedented times, and I think they're doing a damn good job of what they have with what they know at this point in time.
Okay, but your big issue is the lack of distancing at break times and at school, at the end of school.
Yeah, because, the kids all come out at break, and I've seen it firsthand. The kids come out at break, off come their masks, or they leave the school grounds, off come their masks. They're hanging on each other, and God forbid one of them should land up contracting the virus. The parents are going to be back at that school faster than anything, and they're going to be blaming the school. Whereas the school,
okay, but there's nothing the school can do, really, to enforce the wearing of masks outside their premises.
But that's the point I'm trying to make, is it's not always going to be the school's fault. And that's the exact point I'm making. The kids need to understand rules, regulations, and discipline before a finger can be pointed at the schools and say, well, you're not doing what you can to enforce the rights and the safety of my kids. Where I know that the schools are possibly trying their damnedest in these times to do what they can, and it's not always the school's fault.
Okay, yes. So children also have to take a degree of responsibility.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right.
Absolutely. It's not one-sided. You can't only blame one party when the wheels come off, because you can take a horse to water, but you cannot make it drink. And at the end of the day, it's a both-sided. Everybody has to work together to make this virus go away, so we can get back to normal.
All right, Estelle, thank you very much indeed for your call, and thank you all of you for your calls. It is difficult for children, it's difficult for teachers, it's difficult for principals, it's difficult for parents, but it is better than the 6 months that the schools were closed. You have to agree with that, I'm sure. And one final message. Parents outside the school gate are nearly worse than the kids, from my experience of doing drop-off and pick-up. That's from Emma. And Emma, we've heard that from many listeners about parents congregating outside school gates with not a mask to be seen. And, how are you? How was the summer? And then we're expecting the kids to behave. All right, thank you very much indeed. This is 98 FM.
98 FM's Dublin Talks. IMRO award-winning local current affairs show of the year.
It's been several weeks since our lockdown was lifted and our companies and businesses started to reopen. And it feels like things are sort of back to some sort of normality. Well, this week on the programme, we're going to be focusing on a number of industries that haven't in any way gotten back to normal, and some which look like they won't get back to normal for the foreseeable future. Later on in the week, we're going to be focusing on the events industry, the entertainment industry, and how there is no sign of people in that industry getting back to work this year or next year. It really is very concerning. But today, I want to focus on one industry that has been hit very hard by COVID-19. There are no tourists in the city centre hailing taxis. Nightlife is dead, so there's no queues on the ranks. The airport is like a ghost town. Some drivers are reporting their work is down by up to 80%. And we want to open the lines this morning to taxi drivers ahead of a planned protest tomorrow to find out from you, how difficult are things at the moment? Maybe you're a taxi driver who hasn't gone back to work and is still on the COVID payment. According to one taxi driver, we'll be speaking to in a couple of minutes. He says that some drivers may have to continue to claim the COVID pandemic unemployment payment even when they return to work, as their income isn't sufficient to cover insurance and car repayments and all of that. So I want to find out from our taxi driver friends, what is it like? If you, for example, I drove past Euston Station yesterday. My God, the queue went all the way. There must have been about 60 or 70 cars in the queue at Euston Station yesterday. And with fewer and fewer people using public transport, I'd imagine you're in that queue forever. If you're somebody who works the airport, I'm sure you're there forever. So I want to hear from you on 6797 981. You can also text, WhatsApp, or send a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98. 0877 98 98 98. Joe Waldron is the spokesperson for the National Private Hire and Taxi Association, the MPHTA. Joe, good morning and welcome to 98 FM.
Adrian, it's Jim Waldron, actually.
Oh, sorry, Jim. It says, my sincere apologies. Jim, good morning to you.
How are you doing, Adrian?
Now, Jim, tell me how difficult things are at the minute.
Extremely difficult for drivers. With a background of that, the pandemic started 6 months ago, and basically a lot of drivers would have contacted the banks and put their car loans on hold and their mortgages on hold, the same as everybody else, I might add, did the same thing. And most taxi drivers gratefully received the PUP payment, the PUP payment, the pandemic payment. And they survived, I suppose, on the pandemic payment for the previous 6 months. Some of the loans were only extended for 3 months, and 3 months ago, some of the drivers went back to work. And some of them are coming near the end of the 6 months loan spell now, and they're heading back to work. Because obviously €350 is not going to pay the bills.
No.
And they feel it's important that they get out there and earn a living. Now they're facing into a chasm, they're facing into something that they don't know what's there. From the information, the feedback from drivers who are out and working at the moment is that you mentioned the airport, they can be waiting 4 hours at the airport. And I was talking to a guy just day before yesterday, and he was on the Rathmines rank for 5 hours, from 5:15 in the morning to 10:15.
Oh my God!
I think it was Saturday morning.
And I mentioned the queue that I passed by Euston Station yesterday evening. I've never seen a queue as long. I don't know how long they would have been sitting there on average, but I wouldn't have fancied being at the back of that queue.
No, but can I tell you, the queue will be a lot longer tomorrow, because tomorrow we're queuing up on Cunningham Road. There's a protest tomorrow. The drivers need to highlight the problems that we're having. And I'd say you could have a 5 kilometre queue of taxis tomorrow driving into the city at 10 o'clock. We're meeting at Cunningham Road at 10 a.m. tomorrow. So the queue will be a lot longer tomorrow. And this will be drivers who are back in work and drivers who haven't gone back to work yet. Trying to bring a bit of light to our plight.
Okay, so how is it, Joe, Jim, how is it that some drivers have gone back to work? And I was speaking to one taxi driver 2 weeks ago, and he said he was surviving, is basically how he described it. How come some have gone back and others haven't?
Well, the main reason, I suppose, the loans have forced people back to work. Like, you know what I mean? If the loans have to be repaid, you've got to go back to work. And if you earn an extra €10, you earn an extra €10. And that's, most taxi drivers want to be back in work. That's the bottom line. Most want to be back in work. But when everybody goes back to work, the survival that the taxi driver you're talking to is going to be, decimated even more. There's so many taxi drivers who aren't working at the moment that when they go back to work, it'll be harder again. And can I just mention, there's an article, I believe, in the Herald today to say, more or less telling taxi drivers to get off their arse and get out and get a bit of work. Some guy came out of the pub and there was no taxi waiting for him. Taxi drivers want to be back in work. That's what we want to be doing. But we can't survive. I heard somebody else in an article breaking it down very simply for people. If you don't mind, I'll break it down for you in the sense that if you have a car reloan payment, you could be paying €150 a week on a car reloan payment on average, okay? And then your insurance would be maybe 80 to 200 euro a week for your insurance. So if you take just €100 and 150, that's 250 euro per week that you have to make just to make the repayments per week, that is. So what we're looking for is we're looking for the government to allow us stay on the pandemic payment at the rate of 203 to help us to cover them costs, because we know that we can't earn 350 euro a week on the streets at the moment. It's been proven. Now, there's obviously going to be an exception somewhere along the line. I was talking to a guy who was trilled yesterday. He got a run down to Athlone. He was trilled with himself, you know what I mean? So there will be exceptions, but what we're looking for is very similar to the wage subsidy that all employees have at the moment. We're looking for the 203 for a short period of time till the work picks up and things get back to normal. This is not forever. But we do want to go.
So what are you looking for? For all taxi drivers to be given 203 a week?
Absolutely, yes, because it's the same as you as an employee. I'm sure you and 98 FM there are getting paid your pandemic employment payment in your wages. We're looking for the same.
But some staff were, but not anymore.
I believe they are. The payment, I don't know how it actually works completely on an employee, but I know a lot of people will be paid the pandemic unemployment payment up till April next year. Now, the thing is that we contribute. We'll help the economy. We can get back to work, Adrian. We'll help the economy. That's what we want to do. We want to be back in work. We want to be driving around, putting fuel in the car, going into the supermarkets, buying our groceries and buying our cups of tea and what have you, and getting business people around as well. And it's a safe way to travel. It's probably one of the safer ways to travel at the moment. If you go on a bus, you're in contact with maybe, 15 or 20 different people. If you go into a taxi, you're just one person there. And all taxi drivers are insisting that you wear a mask when you get into the taxi, and most taxi drivers are wearing a mask and have shields in screens rather in the car. So it's a safe way to travel,
Okay, now the question I have to ask, Jim, with this protest and with this demand that all taxi drivers, and I assume you're including ones that have signed off the pandemic payment and are out working now, should be entitled to €203 regardless for the foreseeable future.
Well, at the moment, the National Transport Authority have done nothing to financially help us. We have running costs, fixed costs. Never mind the running costs. We have fixed costs of €11,000 per year, which includes licence fees, that type of thing. You know what I mean? Now, the government haven't said to us, well, you don't have to pay your licence fee. They could do that for us. They've done that.
How much is that?
Pubs and all that. Well, the licence fee works out at about €600 a year for all the charges, that type of thing. Okay. Then we have obviously the fixed costs in terms of the insurance. Yourself, everybody's insurance has gone through the roof. So you're talking anything from 2,000 to 10,000 a year for insurance. That has to be met every week as well. You know what I mean?
And I do understand the costs involved. I know a number of taxi drivers, and they've told me about the costs involved. Anecdotally, though, I have heard of a number of taxi drivers still in receipt of the pandemic unemployment payment and out chancing their arm working while they're at it.
Well, that will probably answer your question, how are people surviving out there at the moment? But we're not encouraging. We don't want anybody to have to break the law. That's not what we're about. We want the government to say to us, we're professional people. We do the job, and we do it very well, by the way. It's well recognised around the world as being one of the best taxi services in the world. So, we want to continue that. We don't want people to be bending the rules or breaking the rules to get an extra few quid, or speeding around, or staying out for 16 or 18-hour shifts so that they could try and get a day's pay. That's not what we're about. We want people to be able to be subsidised by the government to such a time that they're earning a living and then able to go in and say, look, I don't need this pandemic payment anymore, and I can survive. And there's ways and means of doing that, and identifying that, with the officials that's there. You can easily do that.
Okay, now you're having a protest tomorrow morning at, you said Cunningham Road?
Cunningham Road,
yeah. But I just got a message in a second ago that says, what is congesting the city with their taxis and causing traffic havoc in the city tomorrow going to prove?
Well, I tell you, it's not something that we do lightly, and I might add that it's the first time that I am aware of, probably in history, that all of the taxi representative groups have agreed on something. They all agree on this, that it has to be done. And it's not about blocking up the city and causing problems to people in the public. It's about bringing pressure and applying pressure on the Minister for Finance to recognise that we as an industry have been forgotten. There's nobody thinking about the taxi driver. Other industries are getting lots of publicity and they're getting lots of support. And it's only like in the last few days that we have political parties acknowledging us now because we're going on the streets, like, you know what I mean? So it's about applying pressure on the government. It's not about causing the public havoc, shall we say, but it's about... Now, can I just say to Adrian, there's a lot of things that we're asking for other than the pandemic employment payment, and they're also cost neutral. Like, we're asking, for example, for the age of the vehicle. Like, I mean, at the moment there's what we call the 9-year rule. Once the car goes over 9 years, it has to come out of the industry. So we're looking for the age of the vehicle to be extended. That's one of the things we're looking for. Like, you know what I mean?
Which will help drivers not have to replace their car this year if it's 9 years old.
Absolutely, yeah. So we're looking for that for a couple of years. Like, you know, we're also looking for guaranteed access to the bus lanes, because the minister very recently had a clandestine meeting, I'd call it, with Owen Keegan from the Dublin City Council and a couple of Green Party people, and on their wish list was to take taxis out of the bus lanes. Now, that's not good. This just can't happen. I mean, how is the taxi industry supposed to survive? You know, business people don't want to get on a bus, and business people want to get from A to B. And we're talking about promoting the economy. We have to promote taxis in the same way. Has to happen.
All right, your protest takes...
Sorry, Adrian, there's one other thing which is ridiculous in a sense, that the National Transport Authority are still issuing licences. Okay? Now, how can you issue a licence to somebody into an industry that's honestly is that thousands of drivers are staying home because they can't make a living, and yet they're still issuing taxi licences?
That doesn't seem to make an awful lot of sense, to be quite honest.
So there should be a moratorium on licences until the business picks up.
All right, Jim Waldron from the MPHTA. The protest tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, am I right?
Tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock, yeah, at Cunningham Road. And all taxi drivers are welcome, no matter whether they're with a union, association or not. Everybody is welcome to participate. All
right, thanks very much indeed, Jim. That is Jim Waldron from the MPHTA. I think, yeah. You're listening to 98 FM's Dublin Talks. Let's bring in some reaction to this. This is Darren.
Morning, Adrian. Just in relation there to your taxi situation, I feel sorry for the taxi drivers now being out of work and not being able to earn a living in that. But the other point I want to make is how many of them are actually out there still working and claiming the pandemic COVID payment. And they may say that there's nobody out there doing it, but I guarantee you there's a couple of drivers out there doing it. Believe me. So let's have a look at that side of things as well. Thanks, Adrian. Bye.
And in fact, after the break, I'm going to be talking to you, Keith, on that point, that some drivers are being forced to break the law, basically.
Of course.
Okay, stay there. I'll be with you straight after the break.
The sound of the city, from Stony Batter to Stepaside. This is 98 FM's Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy.
Taxi drivers from all taxi unions in a united stance are holding a protest tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. on Cunningham Road, and it's expected a very large turnout. They're looking for a number of things. They want taxi drivers to be allowed to continue to claim the pandemic payment of €203 a week, just to help them along for the next couple of months. They want the 9-year age rule for taxis to be gotten rid of, and they want guaranteed continued access to bus lanes. Mike sent me this voice note.
So he's looking for €203 off the government and to be allowed to go out and earn a full week's wage. Yeah, that sounds great, Adrian. So we'll all get that. Thanks very much. Tell him to get his head out of his arse, will you?
Not much sympathy there, Mike. Easy. Okay, I understand the point you're making, but they're going out there and they're applying for very little business. That's the problem. Because here in the city, with offices not open, people still working from home, there isn't as much business. There's no nightlife in the city. It's ground to a halt. So there isn't as much business as there would normally be. Now, Keith, we were talking about how you believe that the current situation is forcing taxi drivers to break the law, basically.
To be honest, Adrian, I mean, it's quite evident out there at the moment that the industry is on its knees. And I think Jim, I suppose, articulated a lot of points really, really well there. And just touching on one point in terms of the protest tomorrow, if the protest wasn't happening tomorrow, we might not have been talking about this right now. So that's one of the reasons, I suppose, that the protest has taken place, to try and get people to listen in terms of government and the NTA. But I mean, in terms of one of the main points in terms of breaking the law is that, you know, people are being, I suppose, caught between a rock and a hard place in terms of bills, mortgages, loans, family life. And I suppose people are probably in a situation where if they don't receive the COVID unemployment payment and go out and earn some money, they simply will fall into a financial position that they won't be able to recover from. Now, thankfully, I'm not in that position, and I went back to work on the 4th of August. And since the 4th of August, each week it's got progressively worse.
Has gotten worse?
Yes, progressively worse.
How is that? Is it because more drivers are coming out?
Yeah, and I think it's the pressure. So I went back to work primarily not for a financial reason, but just from a mental health point of view, that I need to get back down into the workplace and, you know, see people and just, you know, try and get back to some sort of normality after being off since the 15th of March. So my experience is that, like, the number of jobs and the number of fares that are available out there are dropping week by week. And I think that's just a case of simple, you know, economics. The demand might be similar, but in terms of the supply, in terms of number of taxis, is going up because people are having to get back to work for a financial point of view, but also from a mental health point of view, you know.
Okay, now, if there's no budge from the government in terms of giving all taxi drivers the €203 a week while allowing them to work, you're saying that lads are probably going to do it anyhow?
Well, actually, I think people will be forced to. I mean, just on my particular circumstances, again, you know, I'm lucky in a sense that my wife works full time. I don't have a massive mortgage, blah, 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 blah. But there are people out there who, you know, their sole income is the taxi driver, whether that be the man or the woman in the home. You know, and to get enough money to cover off their car loan or their car rental, you know, to cover off their insurance. I mean, my insurance alone per month is €500. So, you know, even if I was on €200 a week, you know, I don't have any money left over for bills, so I have to go out and work. So even if I'm going out to work and doing 40, 50, 60 hours a week to get, you know, minimum wage or above or slightly below minimum wage, depending on the week that you're in, you know, you need the extra income. So there are people out there who will have to flout the law, you know.
Okay, now one of the things that Jim Waldron was saying is that that this payment of 203 should apply to all taxi drivers, including somebody like yourself, who I assume signed off the PUP to go back to work. And what, you want it back again?
Well, Jim doesn't speak for me personally, but I think the point that Jim is making is that, you know, there's enough. It's not the pandemic unemployment payment that he's speaking about, as far as I'm aware. It's the wage subsidy scheme. So there are a number of, obviously, employees out there, and because the business has suffered a loss of income or a loss in turnover, that the business is entitled to apply for the wage subsidy scheme to help pay the employees' wages. Because obviously, if they're down revenue, for example, 50, 60, 7%, they'd either have to let their employees go, or they would have to get the support off the government. So I think that's what he's talking about more so, in terms of having a support system, that as opposed to the pandemic unemployment payment. So it's a support for people who are back in work, but in terms of the revenue that they're able to generate is much lower than what they would have been able to pre-COVID.
Okay, so for you, you say you went back to work at the start of August, and it was survivable then, but it's gotten worse by the week.
Yeah.
And so your income, say, today compared to the start of August, is it half what it was?
I'd say it's probably about 60%. But on that point, I suppose where there's different types of drivers who would be affecting quite differently. So I'd be the type of person who would use an app quite a lot in terms of the number of jobs that I would do on a weekly basis. There are a certain cohort of drivers who won't use apps, and they might use a radio or they might not use it at all. So there are a certain cohort of people who would be much adversely affected in terms of airports, in terms of city centre-based drivers. But it puts people, in terms of the drivers themselves, in a more precarious position, because there's a number of, I suppose, vested interests out there in terms of the Taxi Advisory Committee who, you know, with a swipe of a pen can quite easily reduce the number of jobs that are available to a driver within minutes. So I'll give you a very quick example, and I won't name the company, but over the last couple of days, a company went out and they said that you can now book a taxi, an eco-taxi. So it means that you have an option to book a taxi which is either a fully electric or a hybrid vehicle. That then automatically takes people who do not have an electric or a hybrid vehicle out of the market for receiving that particular fare. So by the swipe of a pen, the chances and the number of jobs that are available to a particular driver has been decimated, because, you know, realistically people do want to go electric, people do want to go hybrid, but there's certain drivers out there who aren't an opportunity or haven't got the opportunity to drive a vehicle like that, because any new entrant into the industry has to have a wheelchair accessible vehicle. To have a wheelchair accessible vehicle and an electric one is simply not possible. The only one that was available last year when I was looking back in November wasn't even available to purchase. It was down in a car garage down in Moat. It was a Nissan NV E200, and there's none in Ireland.
Right, okay.
So you're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place in terms of, you know, certain, I suppose, organisations within the industry would have, you know, too much power, and they're probably exerting a lot of that on drivers, you know.
Okay, so from a human point of view, you obviously know other taxi drivers. This has to be extremely difficult for a lot of them, because there's no sign anytime soon of everyone getting back to work and everybody earning the same sort of money they did back in January and February. The industry was struggling a little bit even before all of this, wasn't it?
I wouldn't have said it was struggling too much. I would have said there was a lot of issues that, you know, could be resolved. And again, as Jim mentioned, you know, there are things that are cost neutral that could be done that wouldn't have any cost effect in terms of the government or the NTA. But again, I think it's a case of there are different interests within the industry. So your individual taxi driver, which I classify myself as, you've got multiple plate holders, and then you've also got organisations in terms of taxi booking apps. So, you know, it depends on who you're talking to and what sort of problems there are out there. But I suppose everybody is looking, in my point of view, for the protest tomorrow, everybody's looking for something fair. Nobody's looking for a handout, but what they're looking for is something to allow them to get back to work, to cover off their bills and do it in a legal fashion. And I think that's the important point to get across, you know.
All right, stay there for 1 second, Keith. Dermot, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Dermot?
Morning, Adrian. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. You've little sympathy. Why?
I have for a majority of drivers, Adrian, because if you're going to judge the industry on the amount of people hanging around the cage in Dublin Airport or sitting outside Euston Station or shopping centres, they're social clubs. They're people that are taking, you know, that have the money to sit outside there, because there's no way you're going to spend 3 or 4 hours on the off chance that you may get a fare for 10 quid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're not going all out there playing for trade.
Well, like I said, I saw that queue at Houston yesterday evening, and I know a lot of
most of them are out there yapping, and these are lads that have probably retired from other jobs, have a pension, the mortgage paid off, and they're getting out for their social club, like probably for their mental health. But I wouldn't judge the industry based on the queues that you see outside of these places, because if you can sit for 4 or 5 hours on the off chance you might get 20 quid, you're not stuck for that, are you?
Keith,
I'm not saying
they're all like that. Yeah, no, I know that. Yeah, of course. Keith, what would you say to that?
It's a fair point, and I suppose, you know, the public in general, a lot of them wouldn't have a lot of sympathy for taxi drivers. I suppose it's everybody looking for sympathy at this moment in time, but, you know, every circumstance is different. So, you know, some people don't want to be driving around the city in the hope of getting a fare. You know, some people are in a particular routine, but like I said there, people need to get back to work for their own mental health as well. You know, and they want to get out and earn a living for whatever reason. And just the point in terms of the people who are over 66, you know, they weren't entitled to the pandemic unemployment payments. They may not be used to using a booking app in terms of on their phone. So they might have been doing this job 10, 15, 20 years, and that's all they've known. So it's very hard for people in that particular age bracket to be, I suppose, classified as, you know, a social club standing around. But, you know, that probably was their lifestyle for the last number of years in terms of they don't know a different way of taxiing, you know.
And he wouldn't be short of the few quid either, and that's the way it is. The mortgage will be paid off, the car will be paid off, plates paid off. You know, that's just the way it goes. You can't judge the whole industry based on the queues that you see, because if you can afford to queue with the likes of that, then, you know, there is lads struggling, but not all of them.
But that's the point. We're not trying to judge the whole industry. What we're trying to say is we're trying to make it fair on people. You know, I mean, there are people out there who are struggling, and there are people who might not necessarily be struggling. But it's a case of,
before the pandemic,
you know, making it fair on everybody.
Every other month there was something with the taxi drivers before the pandemic.
I disagree at that point.
As soon as deregulation happened, and then we're all on the bandwagon then for something else. Always looking for something.
Again, I can't comment on that particularly because I'm only in the industry a short period of time. But
I know,
you know,
but
I would disagree a little bit on that, to be honest.
Okay, do me a favour, both of you. Stay on the line there for 1 second. 6797981 is our telephone number. I want to hear from more taxi drivers. If you are a taxi driver who maybe hasn't gone back out working yet because you don't think it's worth your while, give me a call. Also, if you are out working, what's it like? How difficult is it? And do you think you deserve €203 a week for the next couple of months from the state? Richie sent me this message.
Hi, just in relation to those taxis. First of all, those people chose to drive taxis, so therefore, if there's something happens, if there's no work, go get some other work. I've gotten deliveries from either takeaways or from different independent postal companies, and they've been taxi drivers. Others ones are just supplementing their work and trying somehow, instead of this fella asking for more handouts that us taxpayers have to pay. Then he's going on about a protest, so a 5 kilometre tailback protest for people who are working and who are going to now suffer because of the choices they made. Unbelievable. Thanks, Richie.
All right, Richie, thanks very much indeed. We're going to take a quick break. We're back in just a moment.
The sound of the city, from Drumcondra to Dorky. This is 98FM's Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy.
My father-in-law is a taxi driver, and in 6 hours he made €20. It wasn't even enough to cover his diesel. Sorry, he can't come on, I'm in work.
All right, thanks very much indeed, Aaron. That kind of tells you how bad it is. If you are a taxi driver, I'd love to hear from you on 6797981, and you can also send us a WhatsApp voice note to 0877 98 98 98. The industry has been decimated, says this message from somebody who works in a taxi company. We will keep going forward and do our best as always, but haters are always going to hate, and my God, taxi drivers are hated, says that message. Not by us now, I have to say. I think you're all wonderful. Now, where am I going? Bobby, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Bobby?
How are you? Not too bad. Yeah, like the taximan said, that business is down. But I mean, there's a lot of other places that business are down. Should they not be entitled to the same entitlement?
That's a very good question. And for some people...
There's garages, okay? There's garages out there and they're sinking. And there's other garages that are doing very well, like the taxis. Some taxis are doing very well, some taxis aren't doing very well.
And you agree, I mean, there are some companies, and we're going to talk about them later on in the week, in, for example, the entertainment business or events business, who have no business. Absolutely zero
they
business.
Have nothing at all.
Nothing at all, yeah. Okay, so you're... Keith, actually, just to go back to you on that point, that there are some businesses, and I've friends in the entertainment industry,
of course,
who have zero work. Absolutely, and no chance of any work.
Mm-hmm. I suppose the points that the caller just made there, in terms of just businesses out there who are doing well and businesses are doing poor, and they're not getting any. That's an incorrect statement. There's a lot of businesses out there, and I'm not sure the figures offhand, but I believe it's over 500,000 people who are currently on some sort of wage subsidy scheme, and that's all that the protest is asking for. And obviously, other points, but that's one of the things. I'm not saying we want to be standing alone and treated differently. We want to be treated the same as other organisations. Although we're self-employed people, we're business. And you know, me, I'm a self-employed person, so technically I'm the employee within the business. And what they're looking for is for fairness across the board. That's all. I'm not looking for anything different, just looking for fairness.
And that fairness includes the subsidy, basically, of 203 a week just to help you get through the next few months.
Yeah, but again, so that wage subsidy, the wage subsidy payments, as things do improve, and hopefully sooner than later they will improve for every industry, that should be all taxable income. So, if it is a case that, taxi drivers are out there and they're earning, an amount that's over the tax threshold, they should be taxing it. You know what I mean? So it's not a case of people are looking for a handout. They're looking for assistance to get back out on the road, for their mental health point of view, but also so that they can cover their bills. Because the bills, although they may have stopped for 3, some people 6 months, they're now starting to rack up, whether that be your car loan, whether that be your car insurance, whether it be that, you need a new car. So those things are still there. Those expenses haven't gone away, and they'll only continue to rack up if things, don't improve for a number of people,
All right, stay there for a moment. Dave, you started in the taxi business in July of all times.
That's right, yeah.
Oh, right.
Bad time to get in. I actually, I passed my test before Christmas, and with all the delays, it just got pushed back and back, so I only got started in July.
Right, like you said, no worse a time, I'm sure, to start being a taxi driver. And what's it been like, Dave?
It's a struggle, to be honest. You're getting out there doing your day's work, and you're coming home with very little in the pocket, demoralised. And
are you out working using an app, or are you on ranks, or what way are you doing things?
Yeah, I'm on the app. I'm on the probably the most well-known one. But that seems to be the only place you're getting work at the moment. There's very little on the street. So you just have to kind of get what you can and hope for the best, really.
So how long could you be waiting for a job on, let's say, on an average weekday?
Well, I was out this morning. I did 5 hours this morning, and I did 5 jobs in those 5 hours. And that was a pretty good morning, considering the last couple of weeks, which is desperate, really.
And those 5 jobs, were they short runs, long runs?
A bit of both. The majority would have been around €10, but I think I got as much as €18 for one of them. So it's not going to really keep the.
I was just about to say, you're not minted out of that.
No, definitely not.
So 5 hours work, 5 jobs, and you come home with a couple of euro in your pocket.
Yeah, and they're getting their commission. Then they're taking that out of that. I have to pay my petrol.
Oh, right, they would have all been out of the app, would they?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so are you sorry you did this?
Not particularly, because it's given me it was going to give me a bit of flexibility with the kids, and that kids are back to school now, so I just don't know exactly what way to go, to look for something else, or keep going with it. I really don't know.
And like I said, I genuinely feel for businesses and industries that, through no fault of their own, have been decimated with this whole pandemic, and no sign of things returning to normal anytime soon. But that is one of the points that was made earlier on, that, if it's not working for you, well, maybe look for something different.
Yeah, I understand that too, but I suppose the guys that are in there, they have their taxi paid for, they have their place, they're doing it a long time, they know nothing else. You can't expect them to start looking for different jobs now,
Will you be joining the protest tomorrow?
Absolutely, 100%. This is my livelihood now, so,
All right, Dave, thanks very much indeed. Morris is not impressed with the notion of a taxi drivers' protest tomorrow.
Morning, Adrian, how are you? Just listening to the topic there about the taxi drivers. I think it's a mistake. I think they're going to lose public support by slow driving into town tomorrow, because technically, we understand where they're coming from, but you're hurting the public, you're hurting the people, and if you're going to be delaying people in public transport that are going to be locked on a bus for a couple of hours with their masks on, you're putting people at risk. If there's somebody on that bus or in an environment where they have the COVID, they don't know it. And what happened? I was stuck in traffic for 3 hours in Dublin. Everybody around you is COVID active now, so everybody's phones will be pinging tomorrow big time. Go up to the Dáil Éireann and protest up there where the government are, and don't be. All you're doing is going to turn the public against you. I'm sorry, I'm with you, but I think you're shooting yourself in the foot. Thanks, Barney.
All right. Now, Tom, also a taxi driver. What's it been like?
I did nothing at all since March, but I do a few jobs up and down. But without people, you have nothing. And as that man said there, you're only hurting the people that you depend on when you go back to work. If you go out there and slow them up on the road.
So you don't support this protest tomorrow, no?
No, it's not, sure. It's a stupid thing to do, because without the end of the day, you need the people. You need everyone. It doesn't matter what business that you're in, even you. You need people to listen to you. You need people to work with. If you haven't got people, you haven't got a business. And you don't go out there and shoot yourself in the foot.
Okay, so what's the situation with you? Are you out working?
No, I don't do anything at all, and I definitely wouldn't go on to Free Now, because Free Now is charging 15% plus €2 if you pick up in a hotel or anywhere. They have to pay €2 to get a job. So you're paying 20%. That's the dearest base in the country.
So you haven't worked since March?
I didn't do anything since March. I 26 years at it, so I made a few pound at it, but I just do odd jobs now. People that knows me, and they ring me and I go out and do a few of them. But I didn't go on the Covey around because I'm too old for that.
Oh, right, okay. So you're past pension age?
Yeah, I have the pension, so that keeps me going, you know what I mean? And
so you think that the protest tomorrow is counterproductive?
Oh, not at all. I wouldn't go near it, because, look, at the end of the day, you need the people, and you don't turn people against you. And what are you doing tomorrow? You're going out jamming up the whole city, and you're jamming up people that can't move. And what will they be saying about the taxi driver?
All right, thank you very much indeed, Tom. And one final message from Rachel.
You know, I actually think it's greedy. I'm being honest. I think if this was a different situation and they were hearing about people like earning money on the side and then going and getting welfare, they'd be the first to cause uproar and first to comment, first to kick up mortar. But yeah, it's like, oh God, give us what we want. Everyone has been affected by this pandemic, everyone. And I'm not ignoring what they're going through and how hard it is for them. It's hard for so many people. But come on, do you know what I mean? Trying to, asking for €200 on top of that week. Would they give it to everyone? You can't just give it to taxi men. Give it to everyone. Be fair. Be fair to everyone. Because it isn't just taxis affected by this. It's everyone.
And finally, this WhatsApp voice note from Dermot.
Do you know what, Adrian? I'm just thinking to myself there is a lot of taxi drivers out there struggling, right? But isn't it well for those that can hang around outside shopping centres for hours on end on the hope of getting, say, 20 quid of a fare, or in the cage up at the airport for hours, or outside Houston station for hours, just sitting there doing nothing? You know what I mean? Bit of a joke, isn't it?
All right, Dermot, thank you very much indeed, and thank you all of you for your calls, comments, texts and opinions. That taxi driver protest takes place at 10 a.m. tomorrow. That's it from us for today. I hope you enjoyed the programme. Back with you again tomorrow morning. Kieran O'Connor is in for Barry Dunn this afternoon, and on the next hour he's got some great music lined up like these.
Dance for me,